I got some spring books and I want to share them with you guys. Spring is the season of flower fairies and the birds chirping from the treetops. A lot of these books are related to cottagecore, the English countryside. There are also a lot of classics, but I've also got some cozy mysteries. There's a bunch of everything here. I am making my way through collecting all of the Wordsworth collector's editions of the Jane Austen books. I have been eyeing the Sense and Sensibility edition for so long. I think it's so pretty with the bonnets on the front. I love the blue color. My only complaint about these editions is, as you can see, the color just scratches off really easily. This is the 150th anniversary edition of Middlemarch by George Eliot. I have never read this one, but it has been on my classics TBR for years now, and I think I'm finally gonna get to it this spring. It is a beast of a book. It is huge. To be completely honest, I have no idea what the story is really about, but I've heard that it's the type of story you want to curl up with and never leave. You just want to stay in the story and with the characters forever because you get to know them so well. I wanted to start with those two classics because I was really excited about them, but now I kind of have them organized into categories. So this next category is cottagecore. It only took me 29 years to finally get a Beatrix Potter treasury of all of her stories. It has all of her original illustrations. They're absolutely breathtaking. I actually wasn't read these stories as a child, not that I can remember, but discovering them as an adult has been a magical experience in and of itself, maybe even more magical. And then at my local used bookstore, I picked up a copy of The Tale of Mr. Jeremy Fisher, also by Beatrix Potter, and then The Tale of Peter Rabbit. I just thought these little editions were so cute, ones that I can just lay out and have a little look at in the middle of the day without having to grab the big book. I just think they're so cute. This is also another book that I am probably most excited to have acquired recently, and that is the illustrated Lark Rise to Candleford. Candleford? Why did I say Candleford? Candleford by Flora Thompson. Isn't that such a lovely name? Flora. Flora, that is so pretty. It's one that I have been saving for the perfect time. I really want to read this outside in a garden. The illustrations in here, I wish that I could hang around my home. They're so beautiful. There are flowers and leaves as if they're pressed on the pages. I could just flip through this book all day and it would make me feel so happy. To me, this isn't just a book, this is a treasure. And then I got The Country Flowers of a Victorian Lady. As with the previous few, I got this one because of the illustrations. It has information about flowers like daisies and rosebuds and honeysuckles. The illustrations look like they can just dance off the page. They're so vibrant and beautiful and colorful. You can just pick it up and read one page and learn some information about a specific flower and have your day be that much more magical because of it. And then I have The Edwardian Lady, the story of Edith Holden, author of The Diary of an Edwardian Lady, compiled by Ina Taylor. This is my copy of The Diary of an Edwardian Lady by Edith Holden, one of my very favorite books. And so this is the story of her life. It's broken up into different timelines throughout her life, and I think it's gonna be really, really interesting to read. I love reading about people like Beatrix Potter and Tasha Tudor, and so I'm really, really wanting to learn more about Edith Holden because after having read her Country Diary of an Edwardian Lady, I fell in love with the way that she viewed nature and animals. So I'm very excited to learn more about her. I'm so excited for this one. This was very kindly sent to me by the publisher. This is Unearthing the Secret Garden by Martha McDowell, the plants and places that inspired Frances Hodgson Burnett when she wrote The Secret Garden. It's beautifully compiled of illustrations, scribbled notes, photos of gardens that inspired Frances Hodgson Burnett. It blooms with photos, illustrations, and botanical paintings. One of my sweet patrons suggested last summer that I read The Cottage Tales of Beatrix Potter, which is a series where we follow Beatrix Potter as she moves to the Lake District and becomes kind of like an amateur detective alongside her animal friends that can talk. So it's a story where the animals talk. It's so sweet and so cozy, set in Beatrix Potter's cottage in the Lake District. It just doesn't get more cottagecore than that, you know what I mean? So I have slowly been collecting the books in the series, and the most recent one that I got is The Tale of Holly Howe by Suzanne Wittig Albert. I have to read you the first paragraph. It says, "It was high summer in the Lake District. The green meadows and hills were drowsy under the July sun, and there had been so little rain that even the nettles in the lane were limp and parched. The cloudless sky arching over the lakes and fells was the deepest blue, and the wandering breeze was laced with fresh sweet scent of wild rose and honeysuckle and the call of the skylark." If you love Anne of Green Gables or Beatrix Potter, anything cottagecore, you must read this series. I imagine reading this out by a river or a lake, under the sun, listening to the birds. Oh, wouldn't that just be the most beautiful experience? So much more than just reading a book, you know? It's experiencing a book. Okay, this one isn't really cottagecore, but we're just gonna go with it anyway. It is Captain Wentworth's Diary by Amanda Grange. This is Persuasion by Jane Austen, told from Captain Wentworth's perspective. Captain Wentworth is one of my favorite of the Jane Austen men, maybe even more than Darcy. I love the artwork on these covers. It's so ethereal and soft and filled with beauty, and the stories always just make my heart feel happy and like it's going home. Anything that's a Jane Austen retelling, Jane Austen inspired, or just Jane Austen herself, my heart just feels at peace and feels home. And then I have some cozy mysteries, which I feel like do not get enough appreciation. These are underrated. They are so warm and inviting and heartwarming and fun. These are amazing. Okay, first up I have Pride, Prejudice and Peril by Katie Oliver. The cover is so beautiful. This was kind of a cover buy, but then I saw at the top it says a Jane Austen Tea Society mystery, and I couldn't not pick it up after that. And then I read the first sentence, which says, "Spend the night with Mr. Darcy again, Phaedra?" "I know I'm late," she acknowledged, dumping her briefcase onto the table. "And yes, before you ask, I stayed up to finish rereading Pride and Prejudice." I was sold. Then I got Marigolds for Malice, an Enchanted Garden Mystery by Bailey Cottrell. This was also a cover buy. Look at how beautiful it is. It has a little corgi and a black cat and books that say herbs and botany on them, and tea and flowers and a little cottage. The main character runs a perfume shop called Sense and Nonsense in the charming town of Poppyville, California. And there's a murder, I think, that happens. It just seems so sweet. I'm so excited to read this one. And then this one was recommended by another one of my patrons in my Discord group. It is called Shady Hollow, a murder mystery by, oh, I don't know how to say that name. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, but there's the author's name. This is a cozy mystery set in the quaint little village of Shady Hollow, a place where woodland creatures live together in harmony until one day a toad turns up dead and a local reporter has to solve the case, and they're all animals. I don't think I could want anything more than a cozy mystery set in a cute little woodland village with animals. And there's a fox on the cover. And then perhaps the coziest mystery on this list, and I know that because I just finished reading this 2 nights ago, and that is The Maid by Nita Prose. To me, this book did something that no other book I've read has ever done, which was to take a murder mystery, but make it the most cozy, heartwarming, feel-good story that you just smile throughout. It's about a maid named Molly the maid. She may be neurodivergent. We don't know, it's never really addressed, but she views the world a little bit differently than the people around her. So we're following her as kind of an unreliable narrator as she gets sucked into this murder case as being the prime suspect for this murder. And then people around her, her friends at the hotel, come to her aid and help her get out of this, being the prime suspect. And it's such a beautiful story. I know that this isn't meant to be a book recommendations video, but I highly recommend this book to all of you, literally anybody, I think you would really enjoy this story, especially if you just need to smile and feel good. And then the last mystery that I have is The Perfect Guests by Emma Rouse or Rouse. This isn't necessarily a cozy mystery, I don't think, but it intrigued me because it has two alternate timelines. One is set in the 1980s when a 14-year-old girl who lost her parents is taken to stay with this family at Raven Hall, and they end up asking her to play this game where she needs to pretend to be somebody else. Then we have a timeline in 2019 where a girl gets hired to go act at a murder mystery party. So she's really excited, she needs the money, she goes and she shows up, and while she's playing her part, she realizes that these hosts are also playing a game, and she's figuring out what is going on and why is she really there. I love books set in some estate or mansion in the English countryside, which is where this is set. Games and rich people playing with people, kind of like Knives Out, kind of gives me those vibes. And then I have some classics. The first one is Devil's Cub by Georgette Heyer. She is, oh my gosh, I don't have words to talk about her and her writing. She is so witty and funny. A lot of people compare her to Jane Austen, but I think she's totally her own thing. She's so funny. She is hilarious. You read her novels and you just laugh the whole way through. They feel like a warm hug. I have been slowly making my way through her books. These reprintings that they've done are so beautiful. I like that all of the little details you see are related to the story in some way or another. And then I got this pocket edition of Far from the Madding Crowd by Thomas Hardy. This is one of my favorite books by Thomas Hardy, and it's one that I just like to pick up and read any page at any time. So I wanted to have a pocket edition that I could just carry with me in my tote bag or in a jacket and just read whenever. Underneath the dust jacket, it has this really pretty cloth bound cover that's light blue. It has flowers on it, has a bookmark, it has gold foiled edges. It's so nice and fancy. I'm excited to have this one that I can carry around with me and always have that comfort of Thomas Hardy right within my reach. Then I got the selected poems of Emily Dickinson. I really have been making my way through nature poetry. I love William Wordsworth. He's probably my favorite that I have read so far, but Emily Dickinson is a very close second, or tied. I love her as well. I saw this leather or fake leather edition at Barnes & Noble and thought that it would be great to have on my bedside. Something that I can read first thing in the morning or last thing at night. And along with that, I got a treasury of classic poetry. This just has poems from almost anyone you could imagine. Christopher Marlowe to William Shakespeare, my man William Wordsworth, Thomas Gray, William Blake, Lord Byron, Edgar Allan Poe, Walt Whitman, Emerson. The spine looks so beautiful on a bookshelf. It looks like one of those old $300 leather bound books that you see when you go to an antique bookstore. And then, oh, I'm so happy. I got this leather bound edition, not leather bound. This is cloth bound. The other one was leather bound. Penguin cloth bound edition of The Tenant of Wildfell Hall by Anne Bronte, which is my favorite Bronte book. Well, I still can't decide. Jane Eyre and this one are tied, but there's something so special about this one. I have a cheap paperback Barnes & Noble edition that I got for like $9 that I've been reading from, but I read this book at least once a year, so I finally invested in a beautiful edition that I can have on my bookshelf to look at. And then I got The Hobbit, the 75th anniversary edition. I have the illustrated edition, but I've always admired this one whenever I see it in a bookstore. This one also has a few illustrations in it as well, and it has a map at the beginning. This story is one that quite literally has saved me in some dark times. Tolkien did magic with this one. If you have never read it, it might just be magic for you as well. Oh, I love this story. I love it with all my heart. Next, I have a bunch of new releases, also some backlist titles, and I don't really have a category for them, so we'll just get started with this one. This is One Night on the Island by Josie Silver, the author of One Day in December, which I loved by her. I love a good contemporary romance, especially when the tagline says, "One cottage, two strangers, the start of a great love story." That sounds exactly like something I would want to read. So I picked it up because of that and the cover. It seems like it will just be gloriously charming and romantic. And this one I am so excited about. This is My Fine Fellow, A Delicious Entanglement by Jenneke Cohen, the author of Dangerous Alliance, which I have talked about before. I really liked that book. But this is said to be like My Fair Lady meets the Great British Baking Show. Yes, right? Like auto buy, I will just give it to me. And yes, I think it's about a cooking competition set in 1830s England, and one of the gentlemen, our main character Elijah Little, My Fair Lady, if you know, you know, he enters the competition, but he's not quite a gentleman. So these two girls help him to learn how to be a gentleman. And then the publisher was so kind to send me a finished copy of The League of Gentlewomen Witches, which is the follow-up to The Wisteria Society of Lady Scoundrels that I loved so much, that I read last summer on the beach in North Carolina. It was everything I could have wanted it to be. It's by India Holton. The perfect mix of like Pride and Prejudice, Bridgerton, Peaky Blinders, Pirates of the Caribbean. These books are truly a thing of their own. Like I can't think of any other books to compare them to. I mean, I don't know about this one because I haven't read it yet, but this one felt just like its own thing. It was such a perfect mashup of genres. I love that they're like fighting with a sword and a broom. There's a cottage and a cup of tea. I already know I am going to adore this one. And then I have a middle grade book. This is Aggie Morton Mystery Queen, The Dead Man in the Garden. This book is part of a series, the Aggie Morton Mystery Queen, but you don't have to read them in order. And it's a nod to Agatha Christie. Our main character's name is Aggie, and her best friend and partner in crime is named Hector, which is like Hercule Poirot. They always find themselves getting wrapped up in murder mysteries, and this one is set at a spa in a garden. So I thought that just screamed springtime. And then I, of course, had to pick up V.E. Schwab's new book, Gallant, which I actually just finished this morning. Liked it, but I didn't love it. I would say it's a perfect mashup of Coraline and The Secret Garden. It's about our main character who lives at a school for girls because she doesn't believe she has any remaining family members alive. But one day a letter arrives inviting her to Gallant, which is a place that she knows from her mother's journals has told her to never go there. But she decides to go, and turns out this is the manor of her last living relative. And at the manor there is this vibrant, sprawling garden and the crumbling ruin of a garden wall with an iron door, a door that she must never open. But no one at Gallant sent her this letter, and no one tells her what happened to her mother or what lies on the other side of the wall in the garden. There's a garden and there are ghouls. The way the story was written just wasn't for me, but it was very atmospheric, and I think a lot of people are really gonna like this. And then I have Rise and Shine, Benedict Stone by Phaedra Patrick. The cover looked so charming when I saw it. It's a man sitting in a willow tree with a red robin. And all I know is that it's about a man who lives in a quiet, quaint little village, and one day, I think it's his niece, shows up on his doorstep and he doesn't know why she's there. And she kind of flips his world upside down and invites joy back into his life. And I think they might go on an adventure. I'm not really sure, but I want to go into this one kind of blind. So I'm not going to read up on it, and I'm just going to hope to enjoy the story. It's set in the English countryside. That's really all I need to know. And then along with books set in the English countryside, I have The Secret Keeper by Kate Morton. Kate Morton books are the type of books that you want to curl up with a warm cup of tea and spend your entire morning, afternoon, evening completely enthralled in the story. Her books are so hard to put down, they completely pull you in. This story is set at a family picnic in the English countryside where the main character witnesses a crime which kind of challenges some of the things that she knows about her mother. And then now, 50 years later, she's meeting with her mother and her family again at the family's cottage to celebrate her mother's 90th birthday, and this is her last chance to really figure out what happened that day. It's gonna be a good one. I've loved everything I've read by Kate Morton so far, so I don't see why this one would be any different. And then I got a book written by one of my amazing patrons, Suzanne Kellman. This is her book, When the Nightingale Sings. She writes amazing historical fiction, specifically a lot during World War II. Suzanne, if you're watching this, I'm so excited to dive into this. On the back it says 1937 Europe and America, based on a powerful true story. This extraordinary novel about wartime courage and extraordinary friendship tells how two women changed the fate of the Second World War and the course of history. Definitely one I am very excited to read. And then I have some non-fiction books as well. This is a cookbook. This is the Anne of Green Gables cookbook. A lot of it is black and white, but it does have some color illustrations as well. It has Diana Barry's favorite raspberry cordial, old-fashioned lemonade. I love this illustration of Anne with her friends sitting and having a picnic by a river. I cannot wait to cook my way through this book. I also have How to Be a Heroine, or What I've Learned from Reading Too Much by Samantha Ellis. This is kind of a memoir from Samantha about what she has learned from these fictional women that she has read a lot about, including Jane Eyre, Anne of Green Gables, Lizzie Bennet, even The Little Mermaid. I think this is gonna feel like talking to a friend in book form. And then I also got this book that I'm really excited about and have been wanting for a long time. It is Bibliophile, an illustrated miscellany. Is that a word? It must be a word. Basically, it is a book for book lovers. It has book recommendations, lists of beloved bookstores to visit, iconic covers, writing rooms. So there are the writing rooms of people like Jane Austen. It has lists of classics to read, beautiful libraries to visit, bookish people recommending books, books about girls, books about women, even bookstore cats, different cats that you can visit in these different bookstores. It's a book for book readers and I am so excited. I've already looked through a lot. I love the illustration style and how the format is. It just easily recommends books to you. It's not a lot of heavy reading. There's the perfect amount of illustrations to text. I just love the way it's organized. There's even a bookmobiles and more. I love this. I love it so much. And that is it for all of the books that I have purchased to read this spring. I cannot wait to dive in. They already feel like my friends. I'm so excited. If you have any recommendations for books that you think I would enjoy reading, specifically books maybe set during springtime or that have springtime vibes or cottagecore vibes, please recommend them, or just recommend them to other commenters so that you guys can all get a bunch of recommendations from each other. I love when you guys do that. You leave the best recommendations down in the comments and I have a long list of them on my phone of ones that you guys have recommended to me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely day full of magic and I will see you soon in my next video, which is going to be my spring transformation video, and I'm very excited about it. I love you guys and I will see you soon. Bye friends!